The race for AI dominance. Hey everyone, it's Wolfgang. This is a big deal these days. Artificial intelligence is kind of taking over. So who is taking over artificial intelligence? Who's leading? Let's take a look at that. So the first question to ask is, do the large artificial intelligence companies have an incentive to disrupt themselves? Do they have any reason to look at their fat profit margins and try to disrupt themselves, to reinvent themselves smaller, cheaper, and faster? The answer is no, they don't. NVIDIA is a target because it's making a lot of money in artificial intelligence. It has a backlog well into 2026, well into next year of orders. A lot of people are trying to get their hands on NVIDIA chips. It's as if only one company makes automobiles and everyone wants an automobile and they've got nowhere else to go. That's going to change. The pot of gold that NVIDIA has figured out how to get, because NVIDIA is not a new company, it's been around for a while, but they figured out that artificial intelligence is a great application for their products, their GPU products, graphical processing unit products. Their pot of gold has attracted a lot of smart, capable people. Whenever there's a huge pot of gold, a lot of money being made, and a large market being created, it attracts people, it attracts competition. And in technology, the rule of evolution in technology has always been smaller, faster, and cheaper. So does NVIDIA have an incentive to reduce their profit margins? No, they don't. That opens the door for competitors, for disruptors. And a lot of smart, capable people have seen what NVIDIA has been able to pull off with this new artificial intelligence market and the huge money. A lot of people have jumped into this space and they're going to be competing with NVIDIA, and I'm going to present one of them in this video. Presently, NVIDIA has about 90% market share in GPUs, in graphical processing units. They have about 90% market share. That's huge. To have that much market share in any industry is astonishing. It's a big pot of gold. A lot of people see it. A lot of really smart people are rushing into this space to disrupt them, to unseat NVIDIA. AMD is in second place right now. These are chip makers. NVIDIA and AMD are chip makers. They design computer chips. Graphical processing units are one of the the most important artificial intelligence computer chips. So disruption is coming. Okay, so one example of that is Qualcomm. Yesterday they announced AI accelerators for data centers. So these are neural processing units. They're called NPUs, neural processing units. So this is they're cutting into the artificial intelligence space with these new products, just announced yesterday. And Qualcomm, their revenues are a little bit more than NVIDIA's total. So Qualcomm is not a small company. They have been around for a while also, okay? Just like NVIDIA has been. So they've been reinvigorated, like NVIDIA has, by artificial intelligence, specifically by ChatGPT that was introduced in 2022. So Qualcomm has jumped into the AI competition. 90% market share by NVIDIA is a big target. So they're attracting competitors. And smaller, faster, cheaper will always guide the competitors, the disruptors. Okay? So the products that Qualcomm announced yesterday are the AI 200 and AI 250 neural processing units. They're designed to be used in data centers in large quantities, in large numbers. They're expecting a lot of orders for these to accelerate AI workloads. They're accelerators. So they're sort of like turbochargers or superchargers that you can sometimes find on sports cars, right? So AI accelerators, AI 200, AI 250 products introduced by Qualcomm, announced yesterday. So that's just an example of people taking, they're seeing the market share of NVIDIA and they're saying, you need company. We need to get a portion of that money. So NVIDIA is doing all it can to sort of position itself as the industry leader. That probably is not going to last. I mean, if you look in history, there are a lot of companies who were first in the marketplace that did not survive competitors. Competitors followed. Microsoft is one. Microsoft beat out Apple. Although there was a big lawsuit involved, Microsoft actually won that. Friendster and MySpace lost out to Facebook. And so there are a lot of companies that they take the market share, they're like the early winners, and then they get disrupted. The same thing is happening to NVIDIA right now. NVIDIA is doing all they can, though, to slow that process down as much as they can. They're making a lot of deals with a lot of different entities. Oracle is one. The Department of Energy, I believe they just announced recently, maybe today, NVIDIA did, that they're working with the U.S. Department of Energy for a supercomputer center. Okay, so let's talk about how much money is actually going into the AI industry right now. By the way, artificial intelligence has been around for a long time. Okay, it had sort of a breakthrough in usefulness in 2022 when ChatGPT was released by OpenAI. So just about 3 years ago from now, in 2022 November, artificial intelligence got a new user-friendly skin, if you want to think of it that way, that made artificial intelligence much more user-friendly, much more useful to the public. Okay, so that opened up a huge market for artificial intelligence. There's a lot of money being dumped into this industry right now. It's growing fast. $6 trillion in new spending is set aside for data centers, artificial intelligence data centers in the U.S. $6 trillion through the year 2030. $6 trillion is it's a lot of money because NVIDIA makes about $40 billion annually in revenue. Qualcomm about the same. So $6 trillion. This is a huge number. Is expected to be spent through. It's probably going to be more. It's probably going to be like 10 trillion through 2030. This money will be spent on GPUs, graphical processing units from NVIDIA and AMD, tensor processing units, TPUs, Google, that's a Google idea, and neural processing units by Qualcomm. And the data centers because these will be assembled into racks, into large racks inside data centers to provide artificial intelligence for the masses. You have to think that by 2030, the size of these products is going to keep shrinking. Smaller, faster, cheaper. The size of these chips is going to shrink. They'll get cheaper. They'll have to. Either because they'll be disrupted by smaller companies that have new ideas. And making these products cheaper is a big deal. Because right now, the profit margin that NVIDIA is making with their 90% market share is obscene. It's just crazy how much money they're making. So, unfortunately, there's no way to get around pointing this out, how profit is being made from deploying artificial intelligence. What are companies doing to make money on artificial intelligence? One thing they're doing is headcount reduction. There's no way to get around discussing this. The cool thing is there's an expectation that for every one job lost, two new positions will be created over time. Not like tomorrow, okay, but the expectation is there will be 2 new jobs for every one lost job. And I couldn't fit everything on the board. So some of the industries that are being affected by the staff reductions, the business consulting industry, because a lot of business consulting can be done by AI much more cheaply and very quickly. Also, the legal industry and the financial services industry are being affected by artificial intelligence. So who are the big money leaders in artificial intelligence? Which companies are dominant right now in artificial intelligence? Okay, the deepest pocket companies, Microsoft with OpenAI, they're sort of working together. Google with Gemini, XAI, Meta, and the one conspicuous absence is Apple. Apple does not really have sort of a mainstream artificial intelligence effort at their company. They're mostly making money from hardware and software for the phone. They're mostly a phone company now, which is sort of, it's semi-tragic because they started life as an industry leader in computing innovation. If Steve Jobs was still alive, he most likely would be leading the charge for artificial intelligence. And Apple would probably be a dominant player in artificial intelligence. Instead, they're playing it, Apple is playing it safe. It seems like what they're saying is it's not clear who the winner of this competition will be. Is it going to be NVIDIA, AMD? Is it going to be Qualcomm, Google? Who's going to win this battle? XAI, Meta? Meta is sort of going open source. They sort of transition to an open source model in a lot of ways. But Apple's on the sidelines waiting to see who will be dominant, and then they're going to, because Apple products are always inside this private space, this kind of walled garden, And artificial intelligence requires input from the world, right? And you can't get that from inside a closed ecosystem. The App Store has been taken to court because it's a walled garden, it's a closed ecosystem. It's very difficult to have that, to run your company that way with artificial intelligence. With artificial intelligence, you really need user input, like Meta has from all the users, XAI from all their users of the X.com, Twitter, Google, Google searching. They're getting inputs constantly from all over the world from people, and Apple is sort of stuck with their isolated, and if Steve Jobs was around, that wouldn't be happening. Steve Jobs would likely be leading artificial intelligence with Apple Computer right now. That's, that's just that's my belief. I can't prove that, but if you have any questions about this, please post questions in the comments. I mean, the bottom line is smaller, faster, cheaper is the rule of evolution in tech. And NVIDIA is trying to protect its market share. It's not trying to make its products cheaper, not necessarily trying to make them smaller, at least not at the rate that people would prefer. Because when you build a data center, the bigger you have to make it to accommodate all the racks of chips, the more it costs. And it's not in the interest of data center builders to create these huge data centers, because we all know that tech shrinks over time. And eventually these huge data centers will be white elephants. They'll be huge spaces with lots of power that's not really needed in the next 5 years. I would assume by 2030, the $6 trillion spent through 2030, by 2030, 5 years from now, the size of data centers will be about half. And NVIDIA will probably be displaced, and OpenAI will probably be displaced by up-and-comers. There's so much money and so much profit that NVIDIA has with 90% market share. It's a real target, okay? So expect that to happen. Expect the disruption to happen. It always does in technology. Please post any questions you have in the comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And I really want to thank everyone for watching. Have a great day.